economy work for everybody, not just Wall Street. That means we're going to stop giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas. We're going to give those tax breaks to companies that invest here in the United States. We're going to roll back the Bush tax cuts on the top 1%. We need them, and we're even asking for them. And we're going to give middle-class tax cuts. If you make $75,000 a year or less, we'll offset your payroll tax, help save families $1,000. If you're a senior citizen, and you're bringing home less than $50,000, we are going to say you don't have to pay income tax on your Social Security because you already have a tough time. Rising medical bills and rising utility costs. We're going to have trade agreements that have labor standards and environmental standards and safety standards so that companies don't just ship their plants overseas and then ship the goods right back using child labor, or forced labor, polluting the environment, or having shoddy safety standards, lead-based paint, and toys. We're going to invest in infrastructure. We are spending $10 billion a month in Iraq. Imagine if we spend a little bit of that money right here in Harrisburg. Something about our energy policy. I want to be honest with you, we can't bring gas prices down with a, flick of a switch. It's going to take work. But here's what we can do. We can go after some of those windfall profits and make sure that they're reinvested in refinery capacity to relieve bottlenecks and get gas down a little bit. And then we can invest in new energy technology. Alternative fuels, cellulose and ethanol, biodiesel, making our cars more fuel efficient, raising fuel efficiency standards, investing in solar and wind and biodiesel, which will actually put people back to work in green technologies, millions of jobs created all across Pennsylvania. But we got to have a president who has the will and a sense of urgency about it. Leadership, that's the word I'm looking for. And finally, on foreign policy. The most important job of a president is to keep the American people safe. That's your job as Commander-in-Chief. And I will not hesitate to do whatever is required to accomplish that task. I won't hesitate to strike against those who would do us harm. And I believe that starts with maintaining the finest military army. And that means that we equip our troops properly and train them properly. And then we put them on proper rotation so we're not straining military families. They're getting the rest that they need. It also means treating our troops properly when they come home. No more homeless veterans, no more begging for disability payments, no more waiting in line for the VA. They have served us honorably. We have to serve them just as well. We have to honor and respect our troops when they come home. I will do that as Commander-in-Chief. It also means using our military wisely. And the war in Iraq was unwise. It has cost us hundreds of millions of dollars, thousands of lives. It has distracted us from the war we had to win in Afghanistan. Diverted resources and attention from going after Al-Qaeda and Bin Laden and the folks who killed 3,000 Americans. This was a bad idea from the start. That's why I opposed it in 2002. That's why I'll bring this war to an end in 2009. need to break that politics of fear that uses 9/11 as a way to scare up votes instead of a way to bring the country together to meet our challenges. It means restoring diplomacy to our foreign policy. I said very early on, I would meet not just with people we liked, but people we didn't. Not just with our friends, but with our enemies. And some said we can't do that. I believe we can. Because I remember what John F. Kennedy said. He said, we should never negotiate out of fear, but we should never fear to negotiate. That's what strong presidents and strong countries do. They talk to their adversaries. And when we do that, we will take up once again the mantle of leadership. Not just on going after terrorism, but also dealing with climate change. Also dealing with nuclear weapons. Reducing our stockpiles. Helping poor countries deal with HIV/AIDS. Bringing an end to the genocide in Darfur. Setting a good example of civil liberties and civil rights, which means closing Guantanamo and restoring habeas corpus. Because you have a president who has taught the Constitution and believes in the Constitution and will obey the Constitution of the United States of America. That's what's possible. That's our challenge. But we are struggling against an entrenched status quo. Not just the Republican status quo, but the political status quo, the Washington status quo. We are pushing against that. It will not be easy. And even after I'm elected president, we'll have a lot of work to do. I don't like making promises I can't keep. And so I don't promise that suddenly overnight everything will be fixed because I'm president. But, and I'm reminded every day, if not by events, then by my wife. I'm not a perfect man. I will not be a perfect president. But I can promise you this. I will always tell you what I think. I will always tell you where I stand. I will be honest with you about the challenges we face. I will listen to you even when we disagree. And we're going to disagree sometimes because this is a big country. And people have different points of view, but we can disagree without being disagreeable. Set a new tone to our politics. Most importantly, I will wake up every single day in that White House having listened to you, hearing your voices, making sure that every single day I do a little bit of something to make your lives a little bit better, to make your children's lives a little bit better, to open up the doors of opportunity a little bit wider.